Why don't you purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka?
Welcome to EnterVR. I'm Chris Miranda, and this is the podcast. You know the drill. I'm very excited today because I am about to have an awesome conversation with Steve Drash. Is that correct?
Well, my last name's not Drash, but yeah, that's right.
Let's go with that. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome. You're the creator of Titans of Space. It's one of my favorite Rift experiences of all time, and I'm honestly honored to have you on. So thank you so much for coming along, Steve.
Well, thanks for having me.
Great. So let's get this thing going. Tell me about yourself. How did you end up involved with the Rift? How did you find out about it? Walk me through this thing from the very beginning.
Okay, well, I'm actually not sure I remember how I found out about the Rift's Kickstarter, but I did get in there in the last hour of it. I mean, shame on me, right? But I did get in there, and I wasn't even really planning to develop for it, actually. I just wanted to play with a new gadget. My day job is software, so I, thought maybe I could play around with it.
What was your first impression when you tried it on?
Well, I fired up Tuscany,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, I was just blown away, and I kind of laughed out loud, and basically euphoric was the word I had for it. Just looking outside, seeing a rock on the ground and the rafters. Oh, I'll never forget it.
Yeah, and so what was running through your mind at the time, and what did you do right after?
I probably fired up what I had so far for Titans of Space to see what it would look like, because I was working on it for a good month before I actually had the Rift.
Oh, okay. So let's get to Titans of Space. How did you come up with the concept, and where did all of that come from?
Well, I was on a trip, and when you're on a trip, you're stuck away from your computer, and that really gets me thinking, about stuff. And I've been inspired a lot as a kid by things like this documentary hosted by Isaac Asimov called Voyage to the Outer Planets and Beyond, and it's paired with some really great music, and it's got this just flying through the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
And I always really loved that, and I always thought, I'd like to make that, in 3D, like a newer, updated version of it. And I didn't realize I was going to be making a VR version of it, but that's what ended up happening.
And what engine did you use?
Unity.
Did you have experience with Unity beforehand?
I started tinkering with it about 6 months before.
Okay. And was it difficult getting your groove going?
No. I mean, once I had an idea and I having fun playing with it and knowing that I would be able to step into that world with the Rift was all the motivation I needed.
Nice. And so I take it you're a gamer then. You play video games?
Yeah, I do.
What kind of games do you play?
I would say all kinds. Just maybe not full on with the Call of Duty type stuff, but everything else basically. What's
your favorite name? Your 3 top favorite games of all time?
Well, it would have to be stuff like the old Sierra games, like Space Quest, King's Quest, things like that. Star Control 2.
What is it about those games that attracts you?
I would say exploration.
Are you into games like Skyrim or?
Yeah, I mean, I played a bunch of Skyrim, but I haven't gotten so far with it just because my time's pretty limited.
Nice.
Yeah.
And
but
so
that's good.
Yeah, cool. So let's get back to Titans Space, because Titans of Space, I've been demoing it around, and in fact I just demoed it to my neighbor, my upstairs neighbor, and she was blown away. Um, when I and it's the exact same reaction I've been getting across the board when I show it to newcomers. Like, the first thing I fire up is Titans of Space, because it's such a, it felt like you say you started working on it a month before the Rift, but
Hmm.
it feels like it's a game that you designed precisely just for the Rift, because if the interface and just the movements and the whole thing just works so seamlessly. Were you anticipating at all creating this for VR, and what has been the response from the community or people? Have you been getting emails?
Um, well, to answer your first point,
Yeah.
I did originally make it specifically for the Rift. It's just that I didn't have my Rift yet. You know, I mean, I was a
Ah, okay.
Kickstarter backer. You know, waiting what was it, 9 months? I don't know, something like that. Um, I'm sorry, I forgot your other question.
No, and so you know what? I forgot my other question too. Dude, this is gonna be awesome. We're gonna have an awesome time. um, you know, I show the Rift to people. It's the first thing I show them, and it just works so seamlessly, and so it feels like, on your side, are you getting a lot of feedback from people? Are you getting emails or
Yeah, I am. It's way more than I ever expected, really. I mean, it would have been nice just to get one or two replies saying, you know, this was great, this was cool, but you know, it was just an avalanche from there, and lots of opportunities have cropped up for me, you know, on the side on just totally unrelated stuff, but still having to do with the Rift. And you know, just emails from people that have demoed it to their mom or their brother, you know, or whatever, and they're basically just thanking me for sharing it. And you know, it's great to hear things like that. And I'm hoping that, you know, maybe it inspires somebody somewhere to eventually, you know, go out into space and explore.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I let my little cousin, my 11-year-old cousin, try it, and she was like, "Whoa, is this
Mm.
real? Like, it's crazy." People aren't really ready for it. And so, what do you see, like, the ultimate goal of Titans of Space? Like, you're putting out this really cool demo, but what's the next step?
Um, the next step, well, you know, I've been continuing to make updates to it. You know, polish and making it work better for, you know, people doing traveling exhibits, you know, that are educational rolling demos involving Titans of Space. Um, I've got just a whole bunch of framework that I'm trying to lay in there for the future so that I can pump out a lot more new content, you know, sort of like second, third episodes and, you know, things that are just like outside of our own solar systems and other stuff.
Yeah, that's extremely exciting. It truly is. I look at Titans of Space, and I tell myself, this is the future of education. Have you thought about perhaps licensing this, or taking I mean, have teachers tried this on in front of you? Like, ha, what do you think?
Have I thought about
Sending
doing what
this,
now exactly?
would you be interested in sending this demo into, the Department of Education, and telling them, hey, I'm here to show you the future, like it.
Oh, yeah, I would definitely love that. You know, I'd like to approach planetariums and, you know, any kind of educational thing. That'd be great. I would just love for, you know, people to see it.
Did you intend for it to be educational, or was it more of a relaxing sort of thing?
Yeah, I intended it to be educational in terms of the comparisons of sizes. I mean, the whole seed for this was really just, you know, how big are these stars compared to each other?
Mm-hmm.
And then it sort of ballooned into, okay, let's see our solar system too, because I want to see Earth compared to all this other stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
everything just kind of filled in and then eventually just started showing everything, you know?
I gotta confess to you. I have a confession to make.
Uh-huh.
The first time I tried Titans of Space. Actually, the day I got my Rift, I didn't want to boot nothing. The first thing I wanted to boot up was Titans of Space, and
Wow.
I was high, and I cried. Like it was so powerful. Like the it made me cry. Like I was in there like having an existential crisis, thinking about myself and the place in the and my place in the universe and how infinitely small I am and
Oh
how
man.
if anyone, I mean, honestly, like I have this notion that if you want to bring world peace to the world, you gotta send every single politician asshole to space and let them see the world that they are destroying, right? I feel like
Uh,
one day we'll be able to with games like yours, Titans of Space, we'll be able to give people new perspectives of themselves and their place in the universe. Because it's one thing to see Cosmos with Carl Sagan, which is freaking awesome, but it's a whole nother level when you're surrounded and you look behind you and the sun is right behind you. It's crazy. Um,
uh,
yeah, have you have you tried your own demo on the influence of the medicinal herbs?
no, I haven't.
It's perfect. I highly recommend it.
I
Um, it's
will
perfect
keep
for
that in mind.
that. So so let's take this back. Like, are you planning on creating a company out of this, a studio out of this? Do you have any long-term plans for what you're creating, you're putting together?
Well, I have a day job that's pretty stable.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I do is just basically going to be some long-term hobbyist type stuff. But I do want to keep moving it forward.
Are you hopeful for the future of virtual reality now that the Oculus is here, and do you think this is it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's here. I mean, it can't be uninvented. There's tens of thousands of these on people's desks. I mean, it can't go away now.
Yeah, the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
Have you thought about the implications for society and just humans in general, like as a whole? Like, what do you think what VR is gonna do to us?
Yeah. I mean, before the Rift came along, I was already kind of realizing that we could be getting to a point where, our lives could be getting longer. You've got all this sort of technological singularity type stuff coming up. So now that the Rift is here, I'm kind of looking at everything in life with VR colored glasses and basically seeing, this area of life would benefit from VR, or these sort of things would change from VR. Yeah, it's all over the place. It's just gonna have such a huge impact.
You're 100% right. Ever since I put on the Rift, and that's a beautiful way of saying it. Like now, I am seeing the world with these VR colored glasses. Like almost everything I look at, I think to myself, I wonder if VR could improve this, make this better, easier, more seamlessly. Like it's sort of like Inception. Once you put it on, there's an idea implanted inside your mind,
Hmm.
because you sort of see a glimpse of the future, and it's very exciting. Have you thought about like any negative impacts, or anything that you were concerned that VR might bring?
Sure. I mean, just the magnification of what we've got going on with MMOs.
Mm-hmm.
I personally have been sort of sucked into these alternate worlds, for maybe a total of 3 years of my 35-year-old life. And, I mean, those times were great, but, it kind of isolates you. And, there's some side effects to be had for that. So I'm kind of worried about that aspect. But hopefully, the social aspect will creep in and everything will just kind of merge together, the real reality and virtual reality
Mm-hmm.
just be all just different aspects of the same thing.
That's actually something I haven't thought about, like because it will get to a point where you're right, virtual reality is gonna feel that line is going to become less and less blurry. And the concern that I do have is the same as yours. Like what's going to happen when people are stuck in there for too long by themselves? And that social aspect is more than important to bring along. Have you thought about like what sort of games or what sort of experiences could help people? I mean, aside from Titans of Space in and out itself is amazing. I mean, I can't think of a better proof of concept for virtual reality education than Titans of Space at this point. But you personally, do you think? Have you thought about what would help alleviate that concern? You know.
To alleviate that concern, I don't really know. We just got to push forward, and I think society has a way of sort of beating down all of the bad parts that come up, little bit by bit. So it should be okay.
Yeah. Let's sidetrack a little bit just to make things interesting. What other technologies are you sort of paying attention to nowadays that are just like VR, that will change the way we see the world? Like, do you have any predictions, or are you in tune with any of that?
I wouldn't say in tune, but I've been paying attention to other gadgets like Cast AR and things like that. And I've got STEM on order, and I just want to play with all this stuff and see where it goes with all that kind of stuff. But besides that, I'm kind of paying attention to the fact that we'll start to get some more biofeedback about what's going on in our own bodies, and it'll be really important to be able to do something useful with that information. Visualize, what exactly are we putting into our mouths, and what are the downstream effects, and if we can use VR to sort of visualize, how all this cholesterol is leading up to a heart attack, and you see you see yourself, like your own face on your head, whatever, and you see into your own body, and you see all this stuff happening. I'm sure that would scare the shit out of you, and you'd want to go out and take good care of yourself from that point on.
That's an amazing idea. That is a really good. Did you come up with that yourself, good sir?
Yeah, that's just one of my million things that I want to do eventually.
That is an awesome. Sorry, that's an awesome idea, man. Like, whoa.
Oh, good, yeah.
Because I think about the world we live in currently. As an adult, I feel like I've had to reteach myself how to eat properly. Growing up, my family wasn't very aware of healthy. I mean, I had one side of my family that was just not very aware of of healthy foods and healthy eating habits and stuff. And so chips and soda was the norm in my household for a while. And I just think about how insane it would be for you to put on a set of VR goggles and be able to see what is happening through inside your body. That perspective would either gross you out, scare the shit out of you, but most definitely would enact a discussion inside your head to figure out, like, well, do I want this poison inside my body? Now I know what it looks like. Do I want that? I think that's an amazing idea, man. Like that. Yeah, that's a really. It's what would be really cool. Like, have you seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? Sort of like an experience where, like, you are virtual reality shrunken and you go inside your own body to see what the fuck is happening. I don't know.
That would be great.
Either or, honestly, I like what you're thinking about, man, because that's something that will be important. I think virtual reality is going to become this thing where people are going to throw in so many experiences. It's going to be a reflection of the human psyche, and some experiences will be more in tune. Like, for example, let's say they port Call of Duty to, and not to knock on Call of Duty, but let's say they port Call of Duty into VR, and now you can play Call of Duty in virtual reality. What social benefit do you provide by playing Call of Duty? There is none. I can't think of anyone that might argue, hey, this is the social benefit of Call of Duty. And so what I'm noticing is right now in the infancy of this industry that is being born, there's this possibility to capture the energy, the momentum, and redirect it in positive directions. And you're thinking right in line with what I'm thinking. Our thinking is sort of parallel, and I do have to commend you. Is it something about your upbringing that makes you think the way you do, or what do you attribute this to?
Oh, I don't know. I couldn't say.
Have you always been a nice guy who's been out there to do something positive, or you're just like, this would be awesome?
I'm just I just want to have fun and share my imagination with others and see what other people imagine. And I want to live long enough to do all of that stuff for a very long time.
I like that. Yeah, I think that's a very awesome way of seeing it. So, what other have you tried any other Rift experiences? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty diligent about trying everything that's out there, pretty much.
What are some of the Rift experiences that stand out for you nowadays?
Well, I mean, given that there's hundreds of them now, it's pretty tough to give you just a small list, but just a few. I mean, iRacing, I have such a blast in that. Even 4 months on from first signing up, that's really great.
Huh.
And some other things would be like Simu Speak, which was one of the VR Jam entries, where you sort of it prepares you for public speaking. I thought that was really well done. There's other ones like Sightline, Gravwing, Dread Halls, Blocked In, that new little room, that art demo that somebody posted called Blocked In.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, have you seen that one? That one's great. So much
it is.
detail to look at. It's just great.
Yeah. What are you getting simulation sickness? Are you getting any of that?
Oh, no, I haven't gotten that since the first couple of weeks that I got the Rift.
Oh, okay. So after a couple weeks, it was just sort of something that your brain sort of adjusted to?
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
That's cool. So you mentioned Cast AR earlier, and I gotta ask you, have you thought about developing for Cast AR? And maybe I don't want to push this too far, but like porting Titans of Space over to Cast AR?
I've thought about having sort of like a parallel thing going on where one person's in the Rift and the other person's seeing what's going on with that person in the Rift on the nearby tabletop, but all part of the same program running at the same time. I was going to experiment with something like that.
Wow. Yeah, that would be awesome. Can I ask you, how many hours of work did you put into Titans of Space?
Oh, pretty much all my spare time for about a month and 2 weeks.
Wow. So if you had to guess, that would be like what, 40 hours? 60 hours?
Well, I mean, when I say all my spare time, I'm saying like 4 to 6 hours a night. I mean, it was pretty gung-ho at the time. I mean, I can't do that all the time, but...
Yeah, well, that's well, I'm not good at math, but whoever's listening, go ahead and pull out your calculator. That sounds like it sounds like you were really on a roll then. What was your process like? How did you like write it out on paper, or did you just go straight into Unity?
No paper is involved in my life anymore. It's all about just making notes on my iPad or whatever when I'm not at home or in bed or something, and then I just pull up those notes next to Unity, and it's basically just a big long bulleted list of things I want to do, things, features to implement, things to fix. One thing fixed will generate another idea, and then so the list gets hundreds of items long, and my goal was like I gotta get this list complete, every little check mark, everything checked off, and so that took a while, but at the end, it was good.
Yeah, it totally is. Have you learned what lessons have you learned from developing in VR so far?
Um, well, I guess one thing is that, it's trivially easy to just kind of plug in real world measurements and numbers and things like that and just see what it looks like, in the Rift. I mean, so that's not really something I learn. It's just something I appreciate. It makes it easy, actually. Um, but, I'm, you can measure stuff, but the scale may still not look right. If people have got the slightly wrong IPD, or I don't know, there's something slightly off where things are still like 20% off or something. So I had to kind of tweak that based on feedback. But
Hmm. Oh, okay. And so, interesting. Have you, what was your testing process like? Did you let other people try it? Did you just sort of beta test it on your own? What was that like?
it was mostly me.
Hmm.
But I did have a friend of mine who doesn't have a Rift just kind of run through it, in sort of non-stereoscopic mode, just to give me feedback, because I know he's big on astronomy, and he's very critical of like visual artifacts and things like that. So he's like pointing out, jaggies here and like a number's off here and things like that. So that helped. But most of it was just make some change, run it, try it, make sure it's fixed, or make sure it's implemented right, and just repeat.
Oh, the music is amazing. The music just goes so well with the experience. How did you get a hold of that music?
That the music is made by John Hellman, and it's just one of the free soundtracks that he posted up on the Unity Assets Store.
Oh.
So I mean, there's a bunch of free ones on there, and at the time I was only looking at free ones because I was kind of stingy and cheap. But I really just kind of looked at all those and just found one that fit well. And the benefit of John Hillman's stuff was that it comes with, several looping tracks of varying intensities that are made so that you can perfectly crossfade between them. So I was like, that's great. I can control the dynamic intensity, to guide the emotional experience as you're going through this thing. So that worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it totally did. What about the planetary and the stellar models? Did you get those from the Unity Asset Store or did you design those yourself?
Yeah, I mean, well, the base stuff is from the Unity Asset Store. It's a third-party thing called Space Graphics Toolkit, and that was something I had bought several months before the Rift, before I was planning to make something for the Rift, just because I wanted to play with planets and try to recreate that documentary. Not for the Rift, but that was back then. Anyway, so yeah, I used that as a base, but I had to make a lot of modifications just to get some better detail and behavior the way that I wanted and stuff like that. I had to do that with a lot of my assets. I had to make small changes to get it to work right.
Nice. I gotta ask you, and this is something because you're such a cool guy, man. Like you created Titans of Space. What did you want to be when you were little? Like when you were little and you were gonna be an adult. Like what did you want to be when you grew up?
Let's see. First, I wanted to be Voltron, and then I wanted to be an architect. Which actually, now that I think about it, that works pretty well now. And then I wanted to be a genetic engineer and make the dinosaurs and dragons come back, and then it was just computer science all the way. And now that I'm thinking about that, all that stuff is now possible in sort of virtual worlds. So
Mm-hmm.
that's cool.
Yeah, I can't wait to try out a Jurassic Park theme sort of demo that walks you through the dino. Like I don't know, that would be something really cool to have, like a Jurassic Park and you're in the buggy and you're like the
Mm-hmm.
first movie. That was, yeah, those were the
Yes,
days.
sure would.
Um, so Voltron, you watch. So I take it you watched a lot of Voltron then.
I guess so. I barely remember it. I just remember the 5 lion robots coming together. That was it.
What were your favorite cartoons growing up?
Garfield
Nice.
and shoot, I don't even remember. That's pretty much it.
Garfield. Hey man, that's a solid choice. That lasagna eating cat
Yeah.
will be in my heart for forever. 'Cause yeah, the good times I had good times with Garfield. Where did you grow up, and what was life like growing up for you, man?
I grew up in near the beach in Southern California, but I never really went to the beach more than 5 times. I was just kind of an indoor kid, kind of a nerd. Started programming in high school on the side, just for fun. I mean, this is back before there were any computers in school or anything like that. I don't know. It was pretty easy going. I had great parents, so no problems there.
Very cool. I think one of the coolest things about doing this podcast is I have the ability, I have this luck to be able to meet really cool people such as yourselves, and you described yourself as a nerd, and I think our culture, we're very much focused on the other, the jock, the cute girl, the whatever, but honestly, I think the nerd, quote unquote, should be more looked up to and venerated, because people such as yourselves are people who create amazing things that jocks couldn't possibly ever think of. I sort of had a bipolar life, where at one point I was a bit of a jock and a bully in elementary school, and then I got my ass whooped by this guy named the Penguin, and that sort of just sent my life into finding ways to just be nice to people. Honestly, sometimes a bully, really all he needs is an ass whooping. I was because yeah, like I don't know, I don't know. I used to watch a lot of Dragon Ball Z. And for me, Dragon Ball Z was the thing, and it influenced me, and I used to get into a lot of fights at school. Anyways,
wow.
Anyways, I ended up going through high school and college, and I just sort of started transforming more into I would say not a nerd, but I just appreciated science and science and the world we live in a lot more. Math is something I struggle to conquer, but I will conquer math in my lifetime. I'm not no quitter. But yeah, man, I think this era we live in, we need to start focusing our attention. We need to make nerds such as yourselves celebrities out of you guys. And send and really I don't know. I think telling your stories and putting you are the people we should look up to. Like, yeah, I feel like I'm going off on a rant, but honestly, it's really nice to be able to give exposure to the really cool things that you're doing. And thank you, man. I honestly really thank you, because yeah, Titans of Space and the Rift have changed my life. And it's the thing I want to do with, it's because of it. It's the thing I want to do with the rest of my life. And so, yeah, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Well, I appreciate that too. Thank you.
Cool. So are you single currently? You're married? Are you getting any emails by women saying, "Hey, listen, you just gave me an existential crisis. I want to be with you"?
No, nothing like that. But, yeah, I'm married.
Oh, cool.
Married for 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Planning on having children, or already have children?
No, not yet.
Oh, cool. You said yet, and so children, and our children, like, have you thought about what they will have when they grow up and they go to high school? Like, do you think virtual reality will be their classroom, like the book Ready Player One? I don't know.
Yeah, I certainly hope it is something like that, actually, because that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's just, even if I have a kid right now, it's things just move so fast. I can't even imagine, what their life is going to be like in the classroom. I
Hmm.
don't even know.
I think especially because quantum computing is somewhat around the corner, and so I wonder what the impacts of that will be in our lifetime. It's anyone's guess, but it's truly very exciting times to be alive. Uh,
Sure is.
yeah. Um, have you thought about working for bigger companies, or are you planning on staying independent? What's your take on that?
Well, I have been approached for help and collaboration on a bunch of big projects, and I have a NDA, so I can't really talk about all of them. But I'm working on some really big stuff, and there's some amazing, ambitious ideas out there. And we have so much of a great time ahead of us in the VR world. But yeah, for now, I'm just planning to stay in my job because it's nice and stable. I've been, working with my coworkers for a long time.
Hmm.
So for now, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, who knows? This might spiral into something huge, and yeah, who knows? The future is a very exciting. Speaking of the Rift, by the way,
Mhm.
what are you most excited about, like to try? Like, what sort of games or experiences are you most excited to try out when this thing gets released?
Pretty much everything. I'm excited for something that's AAA level, but really cultivated just for the Rift to really take advantage of the sense of scale and maybe the fact that you can change your in-game IPD, and that stuff is always really trippy. And you've got those demos like Sightline where you look away, you look back, something's changed. You know, it would be really cool if you've got a whole AAA level world that's just like able to take advantage of that kind of stuff.
What is in your opinion, what do you think will be the controller of the future?
Um, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. I've been focusing on just supporting the mouse and keyboard because I know everybody has one,
Hmm.
has those. But I think it's important to support all of these new things that are coming out just so that people have the option, and maybe eventually we'll find out, which one people prefer. But I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. As a developer yourself, what would you say to up and coming people who are thinking about developing for the Rift? What would you say to them?
Um, I would say make sure you hide that mouse cursor. I mean, I'm saying that half joking, but I mean, there's got to be a big focus on the user's experience from beginning to end, and not just dropping them into something that's just halfway done.
Hmm.
Um, because it's not going to be long until the consumer Rift comes out, and then those kinds of loose ends aren't going to fly anymore. But one other thing I thought of is that when you're developing for the Rift, it's actually very helpful, at least for me, to develop for both the Rift and normal monitor non-stereoscopic stuff at the same time. Try to get it set up where you can just flip back and forth so that you can see what it looks like in high resolution. You can see what it looks like for that huge other audience, that doesn't have a Rift yet. And it makes it easy to make kind of functional gameplay changes and quickly check it, without having to put the Rift on and take it off or whatever. And it just widens your audience.
Hmm.
So that would be a good idea. One other thing is that there's a lot of focus on immersion. If developers were to strictly follow all of what it takes to immerse the individual, then any disabilities that an individual has is going to follow them into that virtual world, and they will continue to be disabled. For example, you've got some demos and games that, speak to you with like narration or something. And, I have hearing loss, so I rely on subtitles. And so I think that if people were to strictly go by, what makes this most immersive and just have voice, then, people like me are going to start missing out. And I've grown up, witnessing the rise of captioning and subtitles basically being all over the place. Everything's digital, so it's very easy to sort of incorporate that in every medium. So it would be kind of a shame, I think, if it were to take a step back. And, it's not just hearing, but there's all sorts of, disabilities out there. And I actually just recently was made aware of a website called GameAccessibilityGuidelines.com. And there's this whole thing that these like really, expert researchers are putting together, just a list of like basic, intermediate, advanced, things to look out for as a developer to make sure that, you're capturing the widest audience and that you're not kind of like putting anybody off. So I think that's pretty cool. And I think that's something I should say, while I'm on a public channel here.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely, you have some, because that's definitely something to think about, and it's definitely something we shouldn't sort of just glance over. We should be able to find ways to make VR as accessible to everyone as possible. So for someone with hearing loss, do you think that including captions inside the VR experiences would solve this issue, or is there something else?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the usual cues that are used to kind of tell hearing impaired people what's going on. Like if a sound is coming from the side, I have no sense of direction because I've only got one working ear, so I can't tell if a sound's coming from the left or the right. So, I mean, it would be great to make sure that, games have that option to sort of make the sounds mono. And maybe visual cues like sound is coming from over here, I mean, especially if it's an essential part of gameplay, like you're getting shot from the left. I want to know that it's on the left. Things like that. It's subtitles. I mean, that's not going to be hard in, 3D space. Just put some words there in front of you and obviously make it an option so that it's not bothering everybody, just the people that need it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something we should think about. What about color blindness? Do you think have you thought about color blindness as something that could be remediated inside VR?
Yeah, I mean, just like any game, when you develop your game, you have to make sure there's no dependency on the color of some object in order to know that you need to use that or whatever. Like your interface, pretty much, it can't just be full of colors, and that's how you know what button does what. There's things you can do. Like I actually, it's funny you talk about that because I actually submitted or I put up a blog post with a script that you can use in Unity to sort of flip through all the different color blindness types to see what your game looks like to those people. And then you can find out, hey, I can't tell the difference between this and this anymore. I better go, make some adjustment to make it more obvious,
Wow. Man, that's crazy. That's awesome that you did that. Because I have a friend who is colorblind, and he has difficulty in the real world sometimes because he can't tell the difference between red and green, and so whenever I'm driving with him, I'm riding in the car with him, I trust the guy, I love him, but it makes me very curious to figure out what is happening inside his head. Like, what is he, how does he process this? How does he get through life? Because human beings are extremely adaptable. But in that same sense, we should also be accommodating to each other, especially with this new VR thing. Like, who would have guessed that virtual reality was on its way? Not many people, actually. I am currently surrounded by startup companies where I'm working at, It's a co-working space with more than 80 startup companies, and I showed the Rift around, and I would say 95% of the people there have never heard of the Rift. And this is San Francisco tech scene. This is in the middle of everything. And so we got a bit of work to do in terms of spreading the word, but it's exciting because at the same time, no one's gonna see this coming when all of a sudden Best Buy is gonna have and Target's gonna have Rifts, and they're gonna be $300, and hopefully they'll be in 4K, and what people are gonna be like, what is this? Where am I? It's gonna be crazy.
It's really gonna be something.
It is. So your games, are you designing them? At least Titans of Space. Have you designed any sort of interface with in mind with hearing loss or color blindness or any other disability, or?
Not really, because I didn't actually start thinking about that until I started realizing that some of these other demos come coming out. I was sort of like, whoa, where's the subtitles?
Oh.
So yeah, I started thinking about it at that point. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, thankfully it's day zero for this, and there is definitely a discussion to be had about accessibility. And the more people, the better. I think it's gonna be something that'll get worked out. Hopefully sooner rather than later. And I'm glad you're bringing it up because it's going to be an important subject to talk about. In terms of virtual reality and just who will have access to it, have you thought about people who perhaps shouldn't go inside virtual reality, like children or people who are, I don't know, with mental disabilities? I don't know. Have you thought about like who isn't VR for?
I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, aside from just people that are still developing their eyes, the difference between focusing and convergence and all that, I didn't think there's anybody that should be excluded.
Yeah. Ding 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 ding. Did you hear the bell, sir? This is apparently you've just entered the question, the would you rather section of the program, and it's a lightning round where I'm about to ask you would you rather questions, and you just sort of have to give me the first thing that comes up to mind. Are you ready, sir?
I guess so.
All right. I'm doing this especially at this point because I know you're not ready for it. Now, dogs or cats?
Cat.
Why?
I grew up with 5 cats.
Oh, wow.
And Garfield.
What was that? Was there like a pack mentality with those cats, or were they more like, we're all doing our own thing?
Well, I didn't have all 5 of the cats at the same time.
Oh, okay.
I've had 5 cats throughout my, childhood growing up or whatever, and I like dogs a lot more now. I was kind of terrified of them as a kid just because I didn't like them jumping up on me and licking my face and leaving a big, wet, slobbering mess. And I think a little dog bit me when I was a kid or something. So, cats have always been my kind of thing. But
very cool. Would you rather live next to the ocean or in the mountains?
The mountain.
Why?
Fresh air, trees. Mountains are big and rocky. I don't know. I guess it's easier to breathe there,
Would you rather be born a shark or a polar bear?
Shark.
Why?
Because I saw a documentary on polar bears, and it seems like they have kind of a hard, sad life. Traveling a long way to find a mate, and then you have to kind of fight all these other polar bears just to sort of like retain your rights to mate with her, and then that's it.
Yeah, wow, what a meaningless life that is. That's crazy. I would have. Thanks for veering me off from wanting to be a polar bear, because I was honestly thinking about it. Now I'm just gonna be a badass shark. Huh. Would you rather have the ability to fly or have the ability to be invisible?
Invisible.
Why?
just because there's so many times in my life I just wanted to be a fly on the wall and kind of hear what's going on, see what's going on.
Would you rather drive a monster truck or a clown car?
Wow, I would say no to either of those, but I don't know, clown car, I guess it would be funnier that way.
Would you rather make out with a dolphin or make out with a tuna fish?
Dolphin, I'm afraid I would eat. I would hurt the tuna.
Would you rather have the ability to read people's minds or go inside people's dreams?
Well, now that we got the rift, that's covered, so I would say read people's minds.
Good answer. Would you rather, are you more of an Apple or Microsoft kind of guy?
Both.
Oh, good answer. Are you more of an Android or an iOS kind of guy?
iOS.
Why?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It seems to be more stable, and there's just a lot more content for it. And it's good for what it's designed for, which is a comfortable, casual experience to consume any kind of content you want. I don't know. I know that people champion Android as being more open, but I just really haven't had much exposure. Nobody I know has Android, so.
Would you rather be a pirate or a a cowboy?
A pirate or a what?
A cowboy.
Oh, cowboy.
Why?
Because pirates have a hard life out there, scurvy and all that.
Yeah. It's not a very luxurious life there. And mind you, isn't the reason why the myth of the mermaid was because they were having sex with manatees, right? Like they were getting lonely and they were getting tired of using their hands, so they were like, holy shit, look at that manatee, let's fuck it. Who thought of that? Who? Why? I don't know. I'm sorry, I went off on a rant with the manatee thing. Why would you have sex with the manatee? Seriously, dude. Seriously. I'd rather be gay than have sex with a manatee. Like, at least it's my own species. I don't know. That's something I have psychological issues I need to work out now. Would you rather In-N-Out or Five Guys?
In-N-Out or what?
Five Guys.
Oh, In-N-Out.
Why?
I'm just not satisfied with Five Guys burgers, and they just give you way too many greasy fries.
Yeah, the fries, the whole combination is a bit on the greasy side, but there are days when I feel like a whore and I just want to and just indulge myself in that nastiness. But I'm with you. In-N-Out all day, every day, for sure. All right. We're getting to a close. We're starting to wind down. If Sony releases their own HMD, would you, and then you had to choose between PS4 HMD virtual reality or Oculus, which one would you go with?
I'd go with Oculus. They won my heart, and they were there first, and they're doing everything right so far. Sony's just gonna screw it up.
And on that love story, we're gonna have to close it up. Thank you for being such a great sport with answering my silly questions.
No problem.
Well, that was Steve Drash, the creator of Titans of Space. Sir, it's been a pleasure, and honestly, I had a lot of fun. Do you have anything that is in the back of your head, sort of just buzzing around that you just want to let out and let the world know?
No, I don't think so.
Well, if that's the case, then how can people find out more about what you're up to and your projects and get a hold of what you're doing?
Well, I've got the Titans to Space site at titanstospace.net. And my email is drash@crunchywood.com.
Drash at crunchywood.com, and titansofspace.net. This was Steve Drash, the creator of Titan of Space. Thank you so much for your time, and I can't wait to have you back on the show and hear what else is coming up on the horizon, man.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.